If grocery prices have made every trip to the store feel like a test, you are not imagining it. A lot of households are being squeezed so hard that anything labeled cheap starts to look smart. And that is exactly when the wrong choice becomes easiest to sell. Because the system does not just raise prices, it also nudges people into habits that feel protective in the moment, but quietly cost more later. A bargain that breaks fast, a bulk buy that spoils, a coupon that pulls you into buying something you never needed, a shared bill that is never really shared. That is how false savings work. They do not always look like waste at the start. They look like discipline. So this video is not about spending more. It is about protecting your money from traps that pretend to be thrift. We are going to walk through 11 habits that look sensible until the math catches up. And as we go, keep one question in mind. Does it last? Does it get used? What is the hidden cost? That simple filter can save you from a lot of expensive regret. Let's start with the first trap. Cheap is not always frugal when what you need is durability. This is one of the easiest places to get fooled because the price tag is right in front of you, while the failure is hidden in the future. A flimsy storage bin seems fine until the lid cracks. A bargain kitchen tool seems fine until the handle bends. A low-cost pair of shoes seems fine until the sole wears out faster than expected. The real cost is not only replacement, it is the time you lose, the frustration you carry, and the second trip you make because the first purchase did not hold up. That is why the cheapest item is sometimes the most expensive item in disguise. Now, this does not mean buy luxury. It means buy for use. If something gets touched every day, pushed around, washed, carried, or leaned on, it needs to survive real life. If you know you will use it often, ask one extra question before buying. How long is this likely to last under normal use? If the answer is vague, the saving is probably fake. The second trap is reusing something too far. Reuse can be smart. Reuse can be practical. Reuse can absolutely stretch a household budget in a healthy way. But there is a line between careful reuse and false economy. A container that still seals properly is useful. A container that no longer closes well is not saving you anything. A cloth that still cleans well is useful. A cloth that just smears grease around is not. A tea bag brewed once or twice may be harmless if you like the result, but the second or third use can turn into weak flavor and false comfort. At some point, you are not saving money. You are lowering performance so far that the item stops doing the job. This matters with food too. If you are stretching leftovers or reusing ingredients, the goal is to preserve quality and safety, not just avoid throwing anything out. For food storage and expiration guidance, it is always wise to check official food safety advice when you are unsure. But the consumer lesson is simple. Reuse should protect value, not punish you into accepting bad quality. A good rule is this: if reuse lowers safety, taste, effectiveness, or convenience so much that you stop wanting to use the item, then the saving has already failed. Now let's talk about a trap that feels especially clever in hard times. Eating the discount, not the value. This is where bulk buys, coupons, and sale tags can get people into trouble. The discount looks real. The box is big. The savings are printed in bright colors. But if half of it sits in the pantry until it goes stale, the math changes fast. Bulk only works when three things line up. You will actually use it. You have room to store it properly. And it will not spoil or lose quality before you get to it. If one of those is missing, the bargain starts leaking money. This is why unit pricing matters more than sticker shock. A bigger package is not automatically a better deal. Sometimes a smaller package that gets fully used is the real value. Sometimes store brands beat name brands. Sometimes they do not. The label does not decide that. Your actual use decides that. And the quiet cost here is waste. Not just food waste. Money waste. You paid for something that looked smart, then threw away the part that was never used. That is not frugal. That is retail profit with your pantry as storage. So, before you buy extra, ask one question. Will I use all of this before it loses quality? If the answer is no, the deal is probably not a deal. The fourth trap is sharing and splitting without boundaries. This one can be very subtle because it often starts as a favor. A shared streaming login. A group order. One person pays now and someone else pays later. A dinner bill gets split loosely instead of carefully. And at first it feels easy, friendly, practical. But money and convenience become dangerous when the rules are fuzzy. The same person can end up covering the bill more often. One household can carry more of the shared subscription costs. One friend can always be the one who manages the order, the tip, the fee, or the extra item that no one remembers to reimburse. That hidden imbalance is part of the cost. So is the resentment that slowly builds when people stop keeping track. The fix is not to become suspicious of everyone. The fix is to set boundaries before the money moves. Decide who pays, how it gets split, and what happens when the arrangement changes. If the cost is shared, make it visible. If it is not visible, it will drift. And if you have ever looked at a group receipt and thought, somehow I paid more than I should have, that feeling is not small. It is your budget noticing a leak. Now here is the mid-video truth that ties the first half together. If you thought these were just isolated habits, they are not. They are all versions of the same problem. Retailers and service systems make low price feel like safety, then let the hidden costs show up later as waste, replacement, clutter, time loss, or extra purchases. That is how the pressure works. It does not always force you to spend more at once. It nudges you into spending more over time. So if you are pausing here and thinking, I have done several of these, good. That is not failure. That is pattern recognition. And pattern recognition is where control starts. The next set is where the tricks get even more interesting, because they do not look like traps. They look like normal life. The fifth trap is treating restaurant tricks as everyday strategy. Some people get very good at collecting extra condiments, using buffet tactics, or chasing tiny food service discounts. And to be fair, there are moments when a small extra does matter. But there is a difference between a useful habit and a habit that turns you into a scavenger in your own life. If you are taking packets home because you genuinely need them and they replace something you would otherwise buy, fine. If you are using a buffet because it solves a meal problem and the value is there, fine. But if the whole strategy depends on awkward workarounds, endless extras, or a complicated game of getting the most out of a dining setup, ask whether the effort is actually worth the result. Because small savings are only real when they stay small. If you spend mental energy and time chasing a few cents while ignoring larger leaks in the budget, the system wins anyway. The consumer question is not, can I technically squeeze more out of this? The question is this actually protecting my money or just making me work harder for a tiny return? The sixth trap is buying more because it feels safer. This one got stronger in recent years because people have been conditioned to worry about shortages, price jumps, and empty shelves. So when something looks like a bargain, the instinct is to take more. More cans, more pasta, more paper goods. More of anything that feels stable. But stocking up only helps when your storage is realistic and your usage is steady. If you do not have a place for it, it becomes clutter. If you do not use it in time, it becomes waste. If you forget what you bought, it becomes duplicate spending. Fear-based buying often benefits the store far more than the household. It raises the sale total today, even if part of that purchase is forgotten tomorrow. The safest version of stockpiling is modest, not dramatic. Keep a normal backup of things you truly use. Rotate it. Check dates. Keep it visible. And do not let a full shelf fool you into thinking the money was protected if the food never gets eaten. A crowded pantry can feel comforting. But comfort is not the same as control. The seventh trap is skipping maintenance and paying later. This is one of the most overlooked money leaks in a household because it does not look like spending. It looks like avoiding spending. A loose button gets ignored. A zipper gets tricky. A filter stays dirty. A small appliance gets used until it struggles. A car noise gets dismissed until it becomes a repair bill. But maintenance is value protection. That is the real point. A few minutes of cleaning, a simple repair, or a basic checkup can stop a much larger cost from appearing later. This applies to clothes, shoes, appliances, and vehicles. A small repair often extends useful life far more than people expect. And even when you do not fix everything yourself, doing small upkeep early can keep you from replacing an item sooner than necessary. A lot of households are accidentally trained to ignore maintenance because the pressure is on groceries, not filters or seams. But the budget does not care where the leak starts. It only notices that money keeps leaving. So if something you own still has life left in it, give it the small repair before it becomes a bigger purchase. The eighth trap is chasing every coupon and app offer. This sounds harmless. It even sounds smart. Why would you not want a discount? But the problem is that coupon hunting can easily become a form of pressure shopping. The app says there is a special offer, so you look for something to match it. The store sends a notification, so you make a stop you did not plan. The coupon has a time limit, so you feel rushed. Suddenly, the saving is leading the decision, instead of your real need leading the decision. And there is another cost people rarely count: attention, time, mental fatigue. When you spend half an hour chasing a small discount, that time has value too. A coupon is only useful if you already needed the item, the price truly improves, and the purchase does not cause you to buy other things just to justify the trip. If it pushes you toward impulse buying, it is not helping. It is steering. Use the offer when it fits your list. Ignore it when it does not. The ninth trap is thinking frugal means always saying no. This is where a lot of people get turned around. They think the most disciplined person is the one who refuses everything. No to quality, no to convenience, no to comfort, no to anything that costs a little more upfront. But real frugality is not punishment. Real frugality is intention. Sometimes the best choice is to pay a little more for something that lasts longer, works better, or saves you repeated hassle. Sometimes paying for convenience is sensible if it protects your energy, reduces waste, or prevents mistakes. Sometimes choosing better produce, better tools, or better service is the cheaper choice over time. This is especially important for adults who have already learned the hard way that cheap can become costly. You do not owe the budget a performance of deprivation. You owe it clear thinking. That means the question is not, what is the lowest possible price? The question is, what gives me the best usable value for the money I actually spend? The 10th trap is ignoring the difference between price and cost. This sounds simple, but it changes everything. Price is what you pay at the register. Cost is what the purchase really takes from your household over time. A cheap item that breaks quickly has a higher cost. A big package that spoils has a higher cost. A subscription that nobody uses has a higher cost. A bargain that takes extra gas, extra time, or extra effort has a higher cost. A deal that causes clutter has a higher cost because clutter itself creates waste and confusion. This is why comparison shopping is not enough by itself. You have to compare outcomes. How long will it last? How fully will it be used? What happens after the sale? Will this purchase save me money or just move money around while adding hassle? That shift in thinking is powerful because it cuts through the noise. Stores want you to see the shelf tag. Your job is to see the whole life of the purchase. And when you do that, a lot of false bargains disappear immediately. The 11th trap is letting grocery pressure make every decision feel desperate. This may be the biggest one of all. When prices stay high for long enough, people can start making every purchase under stress. They hesitate too long. They overcorrect. They buy the lowest priced version without checking quality. Then they get burned. So next time they swing back the other direction, then they stop trusting themselves. That is how financial control gets weakened. Not by one bad decision, by repeated pressure that makes judgment feel unreliable. So let's reset that now. You are not bad at this. You are operating in a system that profits from urgency, confusion, and hidden costs. The answer is not fear. It is a simple filter you can use before almost any purchase. First, will it last? If not, the cheap price may not mean much. Second, will it get used? If not, the item may become waste before it becomes value. Third, what is the hidden cost? That includes replacement, maintenance, storage, time, travel, effort, and disappointment. If two of those three answers are weak, pause. If all three are strong, the purchase is probably protecting your money instead of draining it. This is the kind of thinking that brings control back into the household. It also helps to remember something important. A lot of so-called savings are designed to be hard to measure. That is why they keep working. A coupon feels good even if it causes extra buying. A bulk deal feels safe even if it spoils. A low sticker price feels smart even if the item fails early. A shared subscription feels convenient even if one person keeps carrying the load. Once you see the pattern, the pressure loses some of its power. The whole system can be summed up in one line. The store wants you to focus on the moment of purchase. You need to focus on the life of the purchase. That is the difference between false economy and real protection. So here is the practical takeaway. Before you clip the coupon, ask whether you needed the item already. Before you buy the bulk pack, ask whether you will use it fully in time. Before you choose the cheapest version, ask whether it will last long enough to matter. Before you keep reusing something, ask whether reuse is still protecting value or just lowering quality. Before you share a bill, ask whether the split is clear and fair. Before you ignore maintenance, ask what the later replacement might cost. And before you tell yourself that being frugal means saying no to everything, remember this. The goal is not to feel deprived. The goal is to stay in control. If this video helped you see the difference between a real saving and a false one, share it with someone who is feeling the grocery pressure too. Sometimes the most useful thing we can do is help each other see the trap before the money leaves the house. And if you want, keep watching with us. Because the more clearly you see the system, the less power it has over your budget.